Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the P-LotPodcast. John here, joined once again by the main man himself, Michael Angelillo. Michael, how you doing, Bud? How was vacation? You feel rested?
I feel whimsical. Coming back from
Whimsical.
from Epic Universe and Universal Studios in Orlando. That's definitely a whimsical trip. The inner child and the current self. Very, very happy and joyous place. Very good time. Nice to, getting away from this freezing, frigid weather to go to it was in like the 60s, is really as high as it got, mid to upper 60s, and that felt like a dream. It was really, really nice. Um, but back to the cold, back to work, and back to this, which is a positive. This is fun. This is enjoyable. So
Yeah, it really does feel like every single day that goes by,
and
sports
some
wise, there's just annoying. It's just annoying.
yeah. This is so I've had a trend now that dates back to 2021 where I go on vacation, I go away, and something just pretty terrible happens. Back in 2021, I went to Mexico with my friends for a boys trip, and that happened to go through games uh 3 no 4, 5, and 6 of the or excuse me, games 4 and 5 of the Sixers Hawks series. So that was a bit of a disaster. Fast forward to next summer when I'm in Italy with my sister and my grandmother, and Bryce breaks his face on the fastball from uh, uh, Blake Snell. I want to say, was it the one Snell hit him in the face? Who hit him in the face first? Cabrera
I
or
think it was Cabrera hit him in the face.
well, I know Snell hit him too. Let's see.
I think Snell hit him in the elbow.
No, Cabrera
Cabrera
hit him in the face in 2021. That's right, and he still won the MVP. Blake Snell hit him in the face in 2022. I remember that because I remember an MLB TV going to bed before going to bed, watching some Phillies Padres action out in San Diego. So Bryce got hit in the face. Um, I'm sure something bad happened at some other excursions I've gone on, and then this one, I'm away, and Paul George gets suspended for violating the NBA's drug policy. Still don't know what drug it was, if it was a PED, if it was a mental relaxer, if it was like an opiate, God forbid. We don't know, but regardless, suspended 25 games, which is unfortunate. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, we're back. So hopefully things should stable out a little bit. But like you said, John, not a day goes by where something bad or irritating or annoying occurs. And it's been no exception for the weekend.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. So let's start with something that isn't directly Phillies related, but it is baseball related, and I guess Phillies adjacent. Um, Eugenio Suarez signs a 1-year, $15 million deal reunion with the Cincinnati Reds, team he came up with after some brief time in Detroit. He really started to take off while in Cincinnati in his career, and now he's back there on a 1-year prove-it deal. Um, and it brought me to the question to ask you and some others: would you rather have Eugenio Suarez for 1 year, 15 million, or Alec, or excuse me, Eugenio Suarez plus some sort of return for Alec Boehm, or Alec Boehm at about 10 million for 1 year as well? And you see both sides to it. You see pros and cons of each side, but it is, I think, most fans would probably agree at this point, due to just years of frustration, they'd rather take the guy that's got a shot to hit 40 home runs versus the guy that has peaked at 20, and happens to be 6'5". So It's interesting. It's it's not to say it's a guarantee. This is more to say that the Phillies were definitely pretty content with their lineup after the Bichette contract fell. That was pretty much to the extent that they were willing to shake things up. It appears, and after that fell through, they were very much content with where they were at with offensive side of things. So I don't even know if this was really an option for them. I think all the talks about it was more just hypothetical and things that would make sense potentially, but it's not something that the Phillies actually seriously explored.
Yeah, it really yeah. The reason why I didn't explore it is because Eugenio Suarez, according to Jeff Passan, will be taking most of his at bats with Cincinnati in the DH spot. If the Phillies let Schwarber go for any reason, Suarez would have been a very good replacement, I think, at DH.
Mhm.
Um, Gives you a lot of the similar power. Like, they both can hit a lot of home runs. Kyle obviously hits way more. But that's kind of the problem when you have like first base and DH kind of already occupied, that it does limit you in other positions because teams just don't let good infielders walk in free agency. Like that's why I think they went big on Bo Bichette.
Yeah, I mean, because
Saw Glaber Torres get a big contract. That's
they
why.
seem opposed to getting into bidding wars for rentals. That's kind of what it comes down to. Not that it was a true bidding war for Eugenio Suarez, but before it came out, he took less money than what the Pirates were offering him, um, because he preferred to go to a place he was comfortable in for a potential prove it deal to get a multi-year
Well, it's a
contract.
better
Because
lineup.
before, I mean, not by a ton, I'll be honest. Like, I know the Pirates lineup's not good, but the Reds lineup's pretty horrendous, as we saw in the playoffs. He helps it, sure, but it's not much of anything serious. It's just he said he
Well, it's
felt
also
more
too the
comfortable.
ballpark is much more conducive for home runs than
Right,
Pittsburgh's.
like, that was the argument. It's a better hitter-friendlier ballpark, and he's comfortable, been there, used to it all, rather do that for a prove it deal, which don't blame him, but seems like if you wanted to get him, you woulda had to at least offer, 15,000,000 to match, or maybe have to jump a little bit higher, and the Phillies don't seem too keen on spending too big on their rentals, or at least battling it out with other teams. Their rentals seem to be more reclamation projects as opposed to prove it deals, and you can argue that's bad process. I don't necessarily
Right.
disagree. But yeah. The other interesting news ish to come out of Philly's words and whatnot is a cool little article about Justin Crawford and his relationship with Eric Davis. Is Eric Davis a Hall of Famer?
He's not a Hall of Famer, but he was
But
obviously a
he's
very
like,
good player.
yeah, he's up there. He's definitely in that hall of very good if he's not in there. Um, But it was interesting. It was like discussions about him, playing center field, and the Phillies like are pretty split internally on if they think he can play center field right away. There's a, you know, part of it that are like he's going to be fine enough, like probably on the level of Marsh, and you'll take the upside where his speed is just flat out better. And there's the other side that thinks he definitely would be better suited in the corner because his reaction and jumps aren't as good. But it's something he's definitely working on. He's been working on it a lot with Eric Davis in the offseason over the last year or so. And yeah, that's something that is encouraging. I mean, obviously, our focus on him is definitely going to be more offensively driven. We won't really care as much about the center field defense if they hit that Yelich potential that we all are hoping that we see. But just a cool little nugget to kind of lean into the Phillies roundups coming back soon as we approach the spring.
I did not know Eric Davis won the home run derby, but he
Huh,
did.
I could believe that.
Yeah. So just like doing these, I feel like we're gonna progressively complain, and then we'll just go to the Eagles with tonight. Let's just go to the Sixers. So a couple things. One, Josh Harris. Nah, I'm not gonna get into that. I think
Mm,
everyone knows that he should be
yeah.
thrown under the prison if what from what he's yes, like very like publicly flogged is another. Well, anyway. All right. And that's just about them again. Like, so, all right. There's a lot going on with the Sixers right now. So, um, the $50 million a year role player podcast being
Uh,
Paul George.
uh, I don't
Well,
want to.
he's a role player, Michael.
No,
It's
I know, but we're framing it in a way, and hey, it's fair. This isn't a good thing that happened, no matter how you slice it. He should know better.
tested
But
positive for a banned substance. The NBA has not announced it. He said it has to do with mental health. Um, I don't know if like
there are medications, drugs that you can take that are on the banned list that aren't performance enhancers, full stop. And there's also ones that you can reach out to the NBA and get approval to take if like deemed necessary. And like he just didn't take those steps, and that's something that I think is, and that's if it's the case, or if it was some sort of PED or recovery thing. Like,
I thought it
regardless,
was like a recovery thing because of
we
all.
we don't we don't know. We don't know. So there's it's not totally fair to speculate, but whatever it is, it's something that he either should have not taken at all or something that he should have sought approval for from the league before taking it. But unfortunately, he tests positive and he's knocked 25 games, 25 of at the time the remaining 35 games, which it really blows, I have to say, because the Sixers starting five of or five-man unit of Maxey, Edgecombe, Paul George, Dominic Barlow, and Joel Embiid has like the fifth highest net rating or sixth highest net rating in the NBA. So it's a lineup that's been very effective. Paul George has been very effective for this team. Um, More than just like scoring, even though he had the big outburst against Milwaukee with 9 threes, but it's his defense and his just basketball sense, his rebounding, and just the passing, the connecting passing, all that sort of stuff has been such a nice thing to have. It's one of those you think about like Tobias and how all those little things were just not at a high NBA level. And Paul George is one of those guys that was just like born to play basketball, born to play in the NBA. He's always in the right spot. The instincts are on point at all times. And it's nice to have. It really has been. And it really is a shame that this has happened because it feels like they were kind of settling into some sort of groove and rhythm just ahead of the trade deadline. But unfortunately, this is a hit, which in some ways could be argued to be a blessing in disguise. It really depend on what they do at the trade deadline in a couple days, but I think it is fair to say that it is definitely more of a negative thing because it now puts them in a situation where they are about equidistant from the like 4 seed as they are the play in. And you know, it was very reasonable to believe they could have gone on a little heater and put themselves in contention for a top 2, top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. But now it is probably equally likely that they could go in a bit of a rut without Paul George and potentially put themselves in the play-in, and all of a sudden you're playing not meaningless, but unnecessary playoff level games when you know that having your 2 best player or, 2 of your 3 best players and George and Embiid being health concerns as much as possible, you don't want them playing like you wanna try to minimize the amount of very important games you need to play for them, that's finishing series off early, we're getting ahead of our skis, but avoiding the play-in would have been a really nice thing to have, and listen, they can still very well do it, they're absolutely better than those teams in the play-in, but it's just a matter of holding those teams off and not going in the tubes without George for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, is Paul George still eligible for the playoffs? Right? This
Yeah,
is.
I think that's only a baseball thing, but
Yeah, I was just about to say. So this isn't like baseball where he's, but it does feel and like I don't know, maybe him sitting 25 games, letting him heal
mhm,
more, work out. I mean, hopefully he comes back in like better shape than going into it too, because he has had an injury designation for a while. Um,
mhm.
I don't want to go here and be like, oh, he makes $50 million. How could he not get this drug cleared with the league
Hmm.
first? I mean, it does feel like this is just going to be an issue, like kind of going forward. And like the big thing though is before this happened was over the past couple of years, the Sixers have made moves to put themselves beneath the apron to avoid the luxury tax. And dude, I think with this suspension, I think they avoid it now.
Hmm.
I saw someone joke.
Well, they don't avoid it, but they makes it a lot easier. They were around like 7 million. They had to shave off to get under the tax, which it's tough because Sixers Adam, who's probably like I would say the best journalist in the city at this point. Like no one works harder than that guy at putting together articles. Like he put together an article today that outlined all the tax stuff, outlined all the picks that they have that they could possibly trade, and came up with literally over 40 possible candidates they could acquire at the trade deadline with serious um, rationale behind it. So shout out Sixers Adam for sure. But he laid it out that there were about 7 million. They were about 7 million they had to shave off to get under the tax, which is just money. Like it's not like a first or second apron punishment where they're losing draft picks. It's literally just money. It doesn't affect anything else other than basketball. Like it doesn't affect any basketball stuff. But with Paul George getting suspended now, the Sixers are going to receive $5.9 million of tax credit. So that number cuts all the way down to like a hair over, like a little over a million or so. So it is going to be significantly
I'm
easier.
so happy that Josh Harris can save money.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier for them to get under with like say, or whatever it's trading like maybe Eric Gordon and Drummond, and that'll be enough with the money that you take in from other players to get yourself under the tax if you so desire. Like, not for nothing, there are a real opportunity here where they can definitely improve the team with the players while also getting under the tax how you want to. It's not one or the other this time around. You can absolutely have the best of both worlds. And it's just a matter of Josh Harris, like, letting it happen and Daryl Morey making it happen. Like, it's really just a matter of that. I really haven't seen any sort of trade rumblings outside of the Giannis stuff, so I think I'm gonna be pretty blindsided as to what's gonna happen at the trade deadline, but I do have some names here, that I think are pretty good targets to acquire potentially for the Sixers. You have one's a backup center that I think will be very helpful. One is a wing that I think will be very helpful, and then one is, um, well, another wing as well. So the first name up is Day'Ron Sharp, a young center from the Brooklyn Nets that would I think help a lot with. It's basically like a kind of a better version of what Adem Bona provides you, where it's still good rim protection the way Bona does, but it's just a better just a better basketball player. Like you watch Bona play, and it's no secret how athletic he is and his great ability to block shots and whatnot. It's off the charts, but he's got like bad hands. He's got bad touch around the rim at times, and those are things he's working on. He's gotten better at, but it's something that it's like he's in there to protect the rim, and that's almost it. Like he can go up and get a big rebound, but he's not very fundamentally sound at like boxing out without fouling and those sort of things. Where um, Day'Ron Sharp is definitely nice. He has a team option next year, and the analysis on him, elite backup center, and if the Sixers are interested in bolstering their rotation at the five behind Embiid, their best bet is trading for Nets 24-year-old backup big. Sharp is a stellar rebounder and a very good passer for a center. While he's not much of a shooter, he's an efficient play finisher around the rim. He's a total bargain on this contract, and while Brooklyn could ask for a first-round pick, it's difficult to see a team meeting that price point, so the Sixers could potentially use salary filler and maybe he's one of like Justin Edwards or one of their handful. They have a bunch of second round picks that they can maybe throw at it and get a guy like that. And that would be something really helpful because I think trading Drummond makes way too much sense for this team. While Drummond's a good rebounder, he's pretty much a turnstile at this point when it comes to rim protection. He's really fallen off from the beginning of the year, protecting the rim. So when he's out there, you're really just taking his rebounds, but that's about it. Like teams are scoring on him at will around the rim. So this would be a definite improvement there when you think about, the days where Embiid doesn't play, or if you just want a different look than Bona, he would be a better player than that. Bona can still develop and get better, but it would just be an improvement. And, we're entering the days of old of we're plus 10 with Embiid on the floor and like they're minus 7 without him on the floor and you're sweating out finishes. And getting a guy like Sharp can be very helpful to mitigating that. And then that also opens up the possibility of playing Bono alongside Embiid more, where you get some of that rim protection while still having an offensive threat down low. And, it's something that they've experimented with a little bit. And it's something that I think they should be looking to acquire a younger, good backup center like that to be able to run those lineups a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the big thing for the Sixers, besides, is adding a. I just feel like they're. Oh god, I hate when I go look up player stats and ads start playing. So yeah, I mean
Yeah.
Day'Ron Sharp, 18 minutes a game. He grabs 6.5 boards in 18 minutes, dude. So the Sixers have a back to back. Obviously, Joe is not going to play. So the back in both games of the back to back. And our rebounding, regardless, is still pretty abysmal. And it's not getting better with Paul George being, suspended for the next 3 months, essentially, right? 2.5, 3 months.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, I agree. Day'Ron Sharp would be a very good target. I just wonder, you know, like I don't think this is going to be like a Quentin Grimes deal where the Sixers basically offload a bad contract like Caleb Martin and they just get a much better player in return.
No, but I think you could trade like when you're looking at what the Nets have to offer, your options are keeping this guy for his like team option next year or trading him away for anything. And if that anything is just salary filler of Drummond that you'll buy out, and maybe it's Justin Edwards where it's like, oh, that's a young, promising player that's got some skill, or second round picks. Like second round picks can be they're a lot more valuable these days than I think they used to be. So it's not nothing, and I do think he's a guy that's gonna be traded. It's just a matter of the Sixers like, they have the ability to put together some pretty good packages for some margin guys. The next guy I wanna talk about is a guy that just fried the Sixers, um, Sadiq Bey. Sadiq Bey, Villanova kid, has been on a total heater right before the trade deadline. That'll be an interesting guy to see if he gets moved. Um, but he's having a really, really good season, and he missed all last year with injuries, and this is, Pelicans' 3rd team he's been on, but he just can score from anywhere on the floor, and he can rebound pretty well, and that's just as a wing, that would be some really good wing depth to get, a guy that can shoot threes well, knock down big shots, and then also be able to grab some boards for you, and all of a sudden, that sets you up in another
Would
favorable
he be like your
situation.
Watford replacement or
It's a replacement. It's just like a guy that can play alongside of him. Like it's you think about what they're going to do without George now, and Watford's going to get more minutes, and those guys are going to play more. But getting a guy like Bay makes those minutes better, and then you think of playoff rotations where you could maybe run a lineup that if you know you're struggling shooting and offense, and you want to run Maxi Edgecombe or McCain, one of those options of a backcourt with George and Embiid, and we've been seeing Oubre in those spots, and Oubre's having a really nice year, but I think a guy like Sadiq Bey is a little more reliable of an offensive threat, where if you need some offense, that could be a person to turn to and trust a little bit more than Kelly Oubre, who can definitely be a little more inconsistent. So, and then the last guy that was brought up was Justin Champagne. Champagne. I think it's Champagny actually from the Wizards. Another wing who can rebound really, really well, and he does pretty much everything else. Like the guys that they're trying to get are just like they're cheap, they got control, and they can do a little bit of everything, and they specialize in what the Sixers need, which is like rebounding and 3-point shooting. Um, but these are guys that they're not necessarily rentals either. So I'd be more willing to part with a little bit more because you can get Champagne for the next 3 years, and he's only set to make 2.3 million this season, 2.6 million next season, and 3 million the following season. Like that's nothing. And the next 2 seasons contracts are not guaranteed. So like it's truly absolutely nothing, no commitment to it. But you can have him there if he plays well. And I think those are the sort of moves that they like those are moves that are frugal and also really help your team. So there really is no excuse for the Sixers to be super content at the trade deadline. I know I've said it before that they have a lot of the pieces they could need, but as time has gone on, some of their warts have really came to fruition and showed up a little bit, and rebounding is the biggest one. Um, where you can make legitimate improvements without breaking the bank, or it's not breaking the bank, but without, costing like Bobby Wagner some extra millions or something like that. Like it's really something that you can have the best of both worlds. You can get under the tax, you can get better players because you have like 3 players on your team that just don't play that are on like guaranteed normal contracts of Drummond and Lowry and Eric Gordon. And Lowry, obviously, for leadership purposes, is definitely not getting moved. But guys like Gordon and Drummond, you can definitely afford to move off those guys. And with those 2 contracts, save up to like 7 million alone. So there are things to be done, and I really hope they do things because obviously we know that it is it is like, it's you can only count your lucky stars and knock on wood about the health of how well Embiid's been playing and how healthy he's been. That definitely deserves a lot of praise. He's been on a great heater, in January, and he's continued it on, and hopefully he continues again tonight. But things are really coming together. Embiid's playing incredibly, obviously. Edgecombe's having a great rookie campaign. Maxi's been shooting better as of late. And what's also super encouraging is Jared McCain. I was at the Sixers Bucks game when McCain lit up for 5 threes, and they got blown out by the Hornets on last Monday. And McCain was like a +6 in a game where they lost by like 30. And it was nice to see that he built some confidence into that game, carried it over into the Bucks game where he drilled 5 threes, and he just hit 4 threes the other night against New Orleans. So it's nice to see that his stroke is coming back and his confidence is beaming. The team is really happy for him. The players are really happy for him. So that's a like we've talked about ad nauseum the fact that the Sixers have struggled to get role players that are able to really take over games. You think about all these eras of them making the playoffs, and the only games where you can be like, wow, you can point to a role player and say they stepped up, had a crazy game, and they won the game because of it. I think of the play-in game with Nicholas Batum against the Miami Heat, where he went crazy, had like 6 threes, and like Seth Curry in game 6 or whatever it was, in the Hawks series. And it's like, besides that, Redick had a couple moments here and there, but you haven't even had guys like even Mike Scott. He never had a game where he went crazy. Niang like showed you a
Regional
little bit.
manager.
Right. Like D'Anthony Melton had an opportunity to, but he missed all his big threes against the Celtics. And it's like you absolutely have the caliber of players that range from Quentin Grimes to Kelly Oubre to, like Trendon Watford to all the way up to
The
Jared
team,
McCain and
man. I mean, I think the
Edgecombe.
perfect example of a guy. He's a starter, but he is like a role player on the Knicks. Like Josh Hart, just like playing out of his mind two
Right,
years
and
ago.
it's like you have guys that are just better offensive players than that. Like, we can very easily visualize them winning a playoff game because Jared McCain hit 5 threes, and it's like, "Wow, that was awesome, that was needed, that was
Exactly.
huge."
Yeah, it's like it's almost like the best comp I have for like role players and how important they are in the NBA is like to explain to people that aren't huge basketball fans,
Mhm.
is like in baseball, when you have like a Edmundo Sosa, for example, that can come
Mhm.
off the bench, or like your bullpen. Like no one thinks about the bullpen until
Even
like,
just like your 8 hitter, like in a lineup that hits like
yeah, or like
3
eight.
hits
That's
in
a
a
good
playoff
comp.
game, like it's
Yeah,
something that is massive, and it's not expected, but it's almost needed to go on these runs. It's very, very rare that you see teams in the NBA and really any sport, but especially the NBA, go on championship runs where
your boy Miguel Rojas hitting time home run the World Series
it's
Game 7.
exactly, like, we're not seeing a we're not gonna see any playoff run where, like, Embiid and Maxey score 35 a game every single game and don't do it. Like, the closest thing you saw to that was, like, LeBron and Kyrie in the 2016 Cavs, where, like, they really did a pretty hard carry job the entire time, and, were matching each other's 40 pieces in playoff games, and it's like, that is something that is very rare to happen where, yes, if Embiid and Maxey have a bad series, they are definitely going to lose, like, no doubt about it, but a game where Paul George can rip off 6 threes and we're like, "Holy shit, Paul George, thank you so much." Or, Edgecombe hits 3 threes in the 4th quarter and it's like, "Oh my god." Or Grimes has, you know, 3 threes to get them out of a rut in a quarter. Like, it's stuff like that, they finally, it seems like, have players that are able to do that. They just gotta shore up their issues, and they're gonna be in a position where they absolutely have one of, if not the highest ceiling in the Eastern Conference with the just raw talent and ability that they have, and just kinda shoring up the depth to make it really all come together and give themselves a serious shot, and especially what is a very weak Eastern Conference. You just wanna be able to take advantage of a year where Halliburton's out all year and Tatum's out all year, and it's like, I don't care. No one's gonna care that those guys weren't around if they still rose to the occasion and showed up and made the plays and grinded out and won games and went on a playoff run. So, we're all hoping that happens. It's gonna start with the stars, but it definitely can be aided by a couple moves here in a couple days at the trade deadline.
Well, Michael, we've been putting it all off long enough. So the Flyers had their annual carnival for Flyers charities, and that's not one. And I've been to a few of those. I know you've definitely been to some as well.
Maybe I don't know if I've ever been to the carnival. Maybe once. I've been to a couple events like that though, yes.
It's a great time for the players to connect with the fans. And
Mhm.
shocker, Matvey Michkov have one of the longest lines that the press, like the guys that cover the team, said they've ever seen since like
Mhm.
Lindros.
Yeah, when you're going that far back, it's definitely
Like maybe
special.
Yager the one year he was here because he's like
We like to think Giroux had a nice long line
Giroux
in his
probably would always
day,
have the longest lines. Like,
like Richards,
well,
but
the Flyers,
there's a disconnect.
I'm guessing it's inadvertently. I would imagine so, where the team brass and the coach are not on the same page. So, I mean, you summarize it for me, Michael. Like that Tockett thinks the Flyers are like a contending team and they should use all their assets to build a contending team, or
Yeah, I mean, like, there's just a massive disconnect, and it's top to bottom really on where they stand, and who believes what. Like, they've called it a retool. Briere called it a rebuild. Talkett's saying we got a bunch of pieces here that we can work with. All this sort of stuff. There isn't a central message, and it's just a disconnect, and it's disjointed, and that's like those are the traits of a dysfunctional franchise, and it's really what the Flyers have been for quite some time now, and it just feels like they kind of keep digging themselves into a deeper and deeper and deeper hole as time goes on, and like that's really upsetting. It's really frustrating. You look at like Michkov, for example, and the way that Taka answers questions about him, and it's clear there's some sort of issue there. There's some sort of weird disdain or like there's like some sort of ego thing that he doesn't like getting blamed for things or whatever. And people have gone back to his days in Vancouver, and the media keep asking him questions about Elias Pettersson, who obviously was like the cream of the crop player over there, and his struggles and asking about him all the time. And he's like, "God, every question's about him. Why can't we? What are we doing here?" And it feels like that same sort of thing is coming over with Michkov. And he was on whatever podcast, like Fly Sports, whatever, and the guy asked whoever I
Bill
forget his
Matz.
name, Bill Matz, asked a very, very professional, very nice way of like, the fans. There's definitely some frustration. Michkov only played 10 minutes the other night. What can he do to earn more trust and play more minutes from you? And like the immediate response was like, what do you think? Like, how many minutes do you think he should be playing? Do you think he should just be playing more? And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. The question was, what can he do better to get more minutes? Because shocker, man, he's the most exciting player we've had in here since Giroux came up over 15 years ago. And God forbid the
Sure, it
fans are
wasn't even
excited
half
to
as
have him.
good as Michkov is now at their same ages.
No, like Michkov is like
So
truly
yeah, when you were on
special.
vacation, when Zach, friend of the show, Zach co-hosted in your place, we were talking. We had the same. This is before the carnival, obviously,
Yeah.
but I pulled up like Nathan McKinnon's stats. I'm like, it's gonna probably be 3 or 4 years before Michkov can become like a 100 point a year player, because that's just kind of how normally it is. Like Bedard's kind of on the same spot. Like Bedard's probably going to have a monster season next year when the Blackhawks actually put more pieces around him
Hmm.
and he's healthy. And then is obviously him being healthy definitely plays a part in that. But it's like you brought up before. It's like they're skipping like 2 or 3 steps, and the fans are upset because it's like no one knows what they're doing, and it's like you're just sick of it. Like it's an embarrassment, really. Sorry to mean to cut you off. I just
No, you're fine, man. It's just frustrating. Like Taki giving that answer where it's like it's defensive. And again, not to say to blindly throw him out there and play 20 minutes and hope the best, like, he's perfect, can't make any mistakes, but it feel like it's the way that he gets talked about. And I feel like when we're talking about the future of the franchise, the face of the franchise of the future, and you're talking about him like he's some fat slob that, you know, needs to learn to play the game the right way instead of like being excited about him or whatever. It's just very frustrating. Like Noah Cates has been struggling for a while. And it's like the Gordon Ramsay meme on how he is on Hell's Kitchen versus MasterChef Junior. And like he's talking about Noah Cates, like, yeah, like, he's working really hard and it's just a shame. He really does miss Forster out there. And we know his heart's in the right place and he's trying hard and he'll be fine, like not worried about it, whatever. But when he's asked about Michkov, it's like, yeah, he's not playing a complete game right now, and that's something that we're working on and we're hoping he gets better at. And it's like you're talking about a guy with that's like your culture bottom six forward guy with all this like care for the world or whatever. But when you're talking about a star that we're supposed to be nurturing and developing, you're talking about him like he's some, like, lazy bum. Like, we all forget that Michkov should still be playing in Russia right now. Like, he had 3 full years left, and it only took a year for him to get over here, and we should be counting our lucky stars that he is over here, and we had some excitement in that building, and like the heavy criticism for him not being like a complete player and holding it against him. Like, what good is it if he ever plays 10 minutes a night? Why is he doing that? You'd almost be better off just playing him in the AHL for 20 minutes a game if you're going to be playing him 10 minutes up here.
did you. Well, it's funny is that you brought up a good point because Bill Matz said the same thing the day before
Mhm.
he interviewed Torts. He said, why is Michkov held to this way different standard compared to some of the other players? Like, why is Couturier getting a free pass when he's dogging it on the ice?
Mhm.
Or, like, he's just flat out playing bad, like committing bad turnovers, you know,
He's
Like,
not playing good. Yeah, yeah.
what about like you have Owen Tippett? Like, no, he had a hat trick the other like last week, but remember he had that really bad offsides that negated like a game winning goal.
Yeah, and like Konechny, he's been playing really well, but he's had turnovers that led to goals, and it's like those guys don't get any of the brunt, but Michkov gets all of it. And I'm not saying that like he needs preferential treatment, but he's not even getting equal treatment at this point, and it's not good, man. Like that's how you drive a player out of somewhere. That's how you drive a player away, and you know, you look at where this team is and, like, the direction that they're heading, which is clearly not up. They're not getting better. They're not things aren't looking bright in the future, like, it's pretty bleak. Y you just I don't know. There just needs to be more care for the players that are important to the future of this team
I
versus the
do,
ones that are just
and
here.
honestly, I would put. I mean, also too. I mean, let's face three wise talk it like this with Michkov. Because look, I agree with you. Like I see some of like the people on Flyers Twitter. They're acting like Michkov like walks on water,
Yeah.
and like
Right.
that's not true. Like he's still a young player. He's still going to make mistakes,
Mhm.
and like the whole showing up to camp in shape. It's like, oh, why is D'Lo getting more? Delorier getting more minutes than Michkov. Oh, he showed up to camp in shape. Yeah, he's also like a
A
caveman,
goon.
like out there swinging a club.
Right.
Like okay, and like he should be showing up in shape so he could be so he can be employed. You
Yeah,
know,
it's just it's just frustrating, and with the trade deadline approaching in the NHL, and hearing Briere today talk about how he basically just said, like, "We're not gonna do anything unless a team calls us with an offer that we like." And I'll be honest, that's upsetting, because I think you had an opportunity to trade Konechny and really commit to be bad a few years ago. You didn't do it, you gave him the extension, okay. Here is another golden opportunity to trade Travis Konechny and get a very, very good return for him, while also making your team every day worse and putting yourself in a position to get one of these 5, really intriguing
I
prospects at the
agree.
top of this
I
draft.
do agree. I just wonder. I don't know who said this. It was one of the beat writers. They were like, if the Flyers were going to move Konechny, it would be like Konechny and Sanheim together when the Cat makes that huge leap. Because the free agency class is so weak, then you're going to get more bidders, which it would
Well, I
be.
mean, the cap's going up, like, I don't know, like, that's
I
another thing.
wonder.
Keith
I mean, and you're
Jones.
right. The Flyers can retain salary this year. Like, if you're right, if they want to get maximize package, retain like half his salary for this year to get more better stuff, like
Whatever, yeah, you get
better
picks, better
picks,
whatever.
better prospects.
Absolutely,
I do
absolutely.
agree. I agree. I wonder if Briere was didn't want to full blown like commit to it yet because he's like, um, oh yeah, we're gonna bomb the rest of the year after the carnival. I guess I don't know. It does feel like to me it does feel I don't know. Like if Hilferty maybe they want to bomb and Hilferty doesn't want to do it because he wants to sell tickets. Like
Like,
I
that's definitely a possibility, like, listen, Travis Konechny has been the face of this lowly franchise for a handful of years now. He's been a fan favorite ever since he came around, and I get it, it would be upsetting to trade him, it really would, but we're at a point here where you need to commit to a direction. You can't just do this where you're like saying you're going to be competitive, you're going to play good stretches of hockey for a few months, and then your true talent's going to come waiver, but you push so hard early in the season that now you're more middle of the road as opposed to bottom of the barrel, and you're not getting a great pick. And obviously, we all know this team was never good enough to actually be a
well, if
contending
you want
team
to
or
give
anything.
Zegras like a large extension,
Those are fine. Those are guys that you can see being
like
future
I would say like
contributors
getting
and
rid
getting
of
better.
Konechny kind of makes more sense because
Yes, absolutely.
that you know
You really could get a lot. And what was the last thing we'll talk about the Flyers that was frustrating was Keith Jones basically saying that he was caught off guard with the cap going up so much. Like, I don't know. This feels like something that of reporters and analysts and like the even the Twitter analysts and the hockey followers and whatnot that we were expecting this. Were we not expecting the cap to keep jumping over the last handful of years? It was like, wow, the caps, it's been a flat cap for a while. We're finally going to have it start growing a little bit. And talking about this upcoming free agent year where all the guys that were due to become free agents this year all signed extensions except for Panarin, who's old. And it's like, we missed the mark. You missed the opportunity because you guys were expecting these guys to hit the open market, even though the cap was going up. Like, the teams clearly acted on that where they were like, we know the cap's going up. We're going to do the extensions now instead of getting into bidding wars and having to spend a lot more money later. And the Flyers just kind of sat on their hands and literally said, oh, well, you can't predict the cap going up the way that it did. And it's like, what do you mean you can't predict that? Everyone knew that was
Yeah, because
happening. Like,
that's a
you're
good point,
stuck in the
Michael.
Stone
Because I
Age.
think the argument would be, well, they stink, so why would you sell the farm
Trade for a
for
bunch, yeah.
like Quinn Hughes when he won't resign here if they're bad? And it's like, yeah, if you're bombing like now, then you could just be like, you get asked that question. The easy answer would be, well, we're in the middle of a rebuild. Like, as much as we would love Kaprizov or Quinn Hughes, they want to play for contenders. And, our goal is to, we want to get another couple elite talents in the draft. We're going to have Martone and by some miracle, Gavin McKenna, and then along with some of our other young guys. And we want to clear caps so we can then go out in free agency and, kind of put like a brand new coat of paint on this team.
It's
And
listen, it's hard to rebuild in the NHL. It absolutely is because a lot of good players tend to not hit free agency the way that like baseball used to be. And when you draft guys, you really like it you're drafting guys so young at 18 years old, 17 years old that you got to wait some time before they come in and seriously are contenders. So it's like you can commit to being bad for the next 3 years. There's no promise that you're not turning things around until you get to like 6, 7 years down the line. And it's similar to that in like baseball. But like they just haven't almost not even started that process. Like, yeah, you got Michkov, you got Martone, that's awesome. But like you've been doing this for like a couple years prior. You're not like you're not like trying to get there. You're
well,
like
here's the
accidentally falling there.
let me throw out a scenario for you. Let's say Martone wants to go to the NHL next year, right?
Mhm.
If you're Porter Martone right now, are you thinking to yourself, so if I make a mistake and I play for Rick Tocchet, is he going to play me 7 minutes a game? Because that's what he's doing with Michkov.
Yeah, no, it's not. Listen, I mean the biggest thing here, Cutter Gauthier. We spent a lot of time slandering Cutter Gauthier, calling him soft and all that sort of. Maybe those things are still partially true. However, it could not be more clear at this point that for whatever reason he wanted to get the hell out of here. He clearly was right to an extent. And the most hypothesized reason is that the Flyers brass wanted him another year either at Boston College or with the Phantoms before he coming to the NHL. And he was very much against that and felt he was ready. And the Flyers had a disagreement with that, and he forced his way out. We can see it now with our own 2 eyes. He was ready for the NHL. That's a miss. That is a talent evaluation mistake that you looked at Cutter Gauthier and what he was doing in junior and what he was doing in college and didn't think that he was ready for the NHL. And now you're in a spot where you had to trade him away for Drysdale, who's nice, and you got a pick that you ended up getting for Zegras, which is nice. Happy day. But the fact of the matter is that you could have had a young goal scorer that is legitimately scoring goals at will and like going to be a perennial 40 goal scorer, potentially more. And you draft him, you had him in the building, and you traded him away because you poorly evaluated his talent. And maybe we can call him an entitled kid, and he shouldn't be able to do that. But turns out he was right. He was ready for the NHL, clearly was, and here he is lighting it up in Anaheim. That's a miss there. That's a f up right there.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was Kevin Hayes
Yeah, maybe he came and asked Kevin Hayes and was like, "Listen, am I gonna play when I first" like, maybe he was like, "They're telling me they want me down in college for another year. I wanna get up," and he's like, "Listen, even if you do get up, you're not gonna be playing much under Torts. Like, you're gonna be grinding and mucking it out," and he's like, "You better just get out of here." Like, maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what occurred. That could have been what happened. I wouldn't have been shocked if it was all in the same light. And it's like, yeah, it's frustrating. We can get mad all we want. We can chant "F you, Cutter" at him during games. But guess what? He was right. He was that good. He was that guy. And he's lighting it up now for the freaking Ducks instead of here. We'd kill to have a guy that's going to rip 40 goals this year.
Yeah, to me, yeah, I think, if you asked me 2 weeks ago, is Rick Taka going to last only 1 year with the Flyers? I would have put that at like 2% chance of happening.
Mhm.
But considering all the yapping Rick Tockett's doing and how, listen, in Philadelphia, like, we don't, when the coach is the one talking the most, going all these podcasts, going on like, yapping about like trying to duck accountability as the coach. When he's
Mhm.
Michael, he's the highest paid coach in the NHL. He's the highest paid coach in the NHL. And he's acting like it's almost like he's intentionally trying to get fired.
It's really bizarre because I remember hearing stuff out of him over the late summer, I guess, where it was like the players seem happier, the players seem looser. He was glowingly positive talking about Michkov. I'm like, wow, he's
There's
busting
a
it
video
hard,
of him working on Michkov with one timers.
right? Like all this sort of stuff that seems great, and it's like he's turned heel almost, where like he's he's a lot more abrasive, he's a lot more egotistical now the way he talks about things, and it's like, what what the hell happened? What happened to the
I
point
think
where it
honestly,
fell apart?
I honestly, if I were to take a stab at what's happening, is that I think upper management wants him to play these young guys, and he's basically throwing a fit. Like, I'm gonna throw out a name to you. This is
Mhm.
before my time and definitely before your time. Like your dad knows who this guy is, and our cousin Joe knows who this guy is. His name's Mike Keenan. Rick Tocchet played for Mike Keenan.
Yeah,
My way or the highway. I don't want to be told what to do. I'm the coach. Kind of like almost like I would say Napoleon's complex, where because that's like pertains to people who are very short. But like Mike Keenan was trying to tell Wayne Gretzky how to play hockey. Like that's how
right,
egotistical he was, right?
right.
You're telling Wayne Gretzky, the the greatest player in hockey history, still the greatest player in hockey history, how to play hockey.
Yeah, it's just frustrating, man, it really is.
You think with Rick Tocchet, like I don't know, it would be kind of crazy if like Sidney Crosby was on the Flyers, he was trying to tell him what to do. He'd probably laugh at him.
Yeah. It's upsetting, it's frustrating because, we wanna watch good hockey, man, we've gone a while without it. I like, as spoiled as I am with, like, the Eagles and whatnot, like, the Flyers, my lifetime has been like the dark ages of what Flyers hockey has been. I got a cup run very early in my lifetime, and it's been bleak ever since, where this franchise used to be, in the highest regard of NHL lore. It used to be the class of the NHL, and it was like, man, it's only really a shame they only got 2 cups and couldn't win anything, but the Flyers are always good. They're always in the mix. They're always going to the cup. They're always in the, conference finals, whatever it's called, like all that stuff. And now it's just like they're a laughing stock. They're a joke. It's like they're the Jets. Like they're really just nothing. They're a whole massive nothing burger, and it's really upsetting. It really, really, really is upsetting because like that's how you lose fandom. Like that's how you go generations of Philadelphians and Philadelphia sports fans that hockey's already like number 4 in the rotation for a lot of people, but this is how you make it almost non-existent for a lot of people. It's number 5 in a lot of people's minds because the Union are good. And it's like this is how you this is how you lose a city and a fan base for a while because you go through these perennial periods of sucking where all their memories of just like, yeah, well, the Flyers suck. They always suck. They're not good. And that's not good, man. Like you got to work to get out of that rut. The Phillies we talked about all the time. We were worried that the Phillies weren't going to sell out their first playoff game in 2022 because fans weren't showing up in September. And that's the Phillies. That's baseball. So, I mean, what do you think the hockey's going to look like when the Flyers finally figure it out, if that day ever comes? But until that comes, we're just gonna be sitting here complaining and being upset. Um, so
I
yeah,
just,
and
I mean, like to me, like if with the Mitchkov minutes, all Tocchet had to say, this is all he had to say was this: "Hey, look, his training got disrupted because of his injury. You know why I'm only playing him 13 minutes a night? Because I want to risk his Achilles blowing out, and then he's like, we have a Tyson situation where he's
you almost didn't even have to lie, though. You could have just said, like, you could have given a hockey reason. You could have given a genuine hockey reason. What can Matvey do to earn your trust? You're like, oh, there's some. We know he's got all the skill. It's probably a mistake that he only played 10 minutes. That's definitely on me. But it's, we want to see him do this even more. Even if it's wrong and stupid, at least give him something as opposed to like giving a defensive answer of like, well, how many minutes do you think he should be playing? Like, the hell are you talking about, dude? Why are
yeah.
you getting
If
so
it was
mad?
like dude, like Charlie O'Connor is so like plugged into the team. If Mitchkov was being like a doofus, or if he was being like really immature, like it would have gotten out by now.
Hmm.
It would have gotten out. Like we found out that Joel Embiid was drinking Shirley Temples by the pitcher,
And
right?
eating Chick-fil-A like at a yeah,
Like
yeah,
every day. Like we found
yeah.
that out. But like if Mitchkov was being a psycho, like he's going to Old City every night, getting blasted, and then
Mhm,
showing up to practice vomiting on the ice. Like that we would have figured that out by now. This is just
mhm.
like basically a old geezer coach who used to play for the Flyers. Shocker, Michael. How
Yeah.
shocker. Um, who's just like, oh, I hate Russians because in 1987, Sergei Fedorov slashed me, and I just hate Russia. It's just so stupid. It is so
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's it's not fun, man, it really isn't. But
Could you imagine if someone like asked Jonesy, it's like, do you regret taking $6.5 million and tossing it into a barrel and lighting it on fire? Because
I
that's
mean,
what
they
you're.
should ask him, "Do you regret giving up your announcing and radio gig for this? Because you're not doing a great job right now, and a lot of you're turning the like, it's actually such a shame that there are 3, like, legitimate fan city favorites that are in charge of the Flyers right now, from Rick Tocchet to Danny Briere and Keith Jones, and it's like they're actively leaving, like, a nasty taste in everybody like, people might, like, actually hate Rick Tocchet when this is all said and done, and he was loved by
Look
fans,
at
and
Ron
it's
Hextall.
yeah, Hextall, absolutely disgraced, really, for what he did to the Flyers, and again, fan favorite, and it's like Danny Briere is everyone's childhood favorite player that grew up in my age, and it's like, he's not leading a good operation right now. Keith Jones, everyone's, like, parents' favorite Flyer or whatever, like, favorite radio person, "Oh, Jonesy, we all love Jonesy," and it's great, we do all love Jonesy, but Jesus Christ, is he a bad executive, it seems like, and it's just like, we keep doing the former Flyer thing and we like say it's like, haha, now oh, it's new this time, it's different this time, but it's not. It's never different.
Yeah, it's like dude. It's not
We
like
gave Paul Holmgren so much shit. My God.
it's not like the Flyers hired like I don't know
Stronger.
yeah. Like, I saw someone bring that up, and I'm like you can't complain about them bringing back former Flyers, and even though Chris Pronger played.
Well, Chris Pronger probably seems like an actual like smarter. The thing is that you brought in Jonesy with Briere. Like we all thought Briere might actually have some sense here, but you brought in Keith Jones that feels like he has too much say on what goes on, and he probably doesn't have the
It's
best.
bad when he says, I have to fight to ask Rick Tocchet to play young players. In other words, like he was probably like, dude, you're the team president. If you tell Rick Tocchet we're gonna play Grebenkin sign, he's like, well, no, we got to play D'Lo here because blah blah blah. I'd be like, no, we pay your salary. You're gonna play Grebenkin.
Yeah.
It does. You know what it feels like, dude? This feels exactly like when Joe Girardi was the manager of the Phillies. That's my best.
Oh God. Dude, so what you're saying is they're close.
No, what I'm saying is it's like Joe Girardi, except we didn't have subtract Bryce and like Schwarber and like Zach Wheeler off the Phillies.
Yeah. Well, anyways, let's move on because I'm getting angry. Um, NFL football. There are no longer any. Well, there is one. There is
No,
only
you're correct.
one remaining head coaching position vacant, but all signs are pointing towards a name, and that team is Las Vegas Raiders, and that name is Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. So all signs are pointing towards that. It seems like simply out of respect at this point, it hasn't been announced. Probably will get
This is like
announced
when
right before
Kellen
the
Moore
Super
last
Bowl.
year with the Saints.
Yeah, like it'll probably get announced pretty shortly. It'll probably get announced before the game as like a whatever. But anyways, uh, so the recent hires that have happened were we'll start in Arizona. Mike LaFleur, brother of yes Matt LaFleur, has been hired by the Cardinals. Former Rams offensive coordinator, now head coach of the Cardinals. So an interesting job there. We talk about it all the time. There's like you got Marvin, you got Michael Wilson as like, promising, encouraging. Hopefully, Marvin could be like what he's supposed to be, generational receiving prospect. You have Trey McBride, one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end in football. Like it's an intriguing offense, and you have some defensive talent that this job isn't the least exciting thing ever, but the big question mark is obviously whatever the hell you're gonna do at quarterback. Your options are Kyler Murray, who got, like, kindly benched this season, and that's almost kinda it, like, you draft a guy
Well,
it's really uninspiring, the quarterback
yeah,
position, I
and
would say.
honestly, it does feel like first everyone's like, "Oh, Kyler's gone." Let's
Yeah.
talk about hypotheticals of trading Kyler Murray. And now it's like, well, the NFL draft this year for quarterbacks is so barren outside of Fernando Mendoza. It would almost behoove the Cardinals to maybe keep Kyler for one more year and see if Mike LaFleur can get anything out of him.
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
that's why you hired him is to have him,
Figure it
you know.
out. Like, it's you think about the perfect not perfect, but a very similar comp to this is Liam Cohen going to the Jags, where it's like Trevor Lawrence was pretty comfortable question mark entering this season on, this is a big year for him where if he doesn't play well, Liam Cohen's probably going to be able to get whoever his guy is to be the next quarterback in there and get Lawrence out of there if it doesn't work out. And obviously, Lawrence had a great year. Didn't have an amazing playoff game, but he had a really nice season. And if I'm a Jags fan, I'd feel pretty confident with him going into next season. So yeah, maybe this is a situation where Mike LaFleur gets Kyler back looking to, 2021 Kyler when he was in MVP talks, and it's like, okay, there's like that's what we were looking for, and we feel comfortable moving forward. So overall, I think it's a nice hire. I don't, I think it's I want to say almost like inoffensive, where it's like you take the offensive coordinator for the league's like best offense, and you just kind of hope it works out. One of the best offenses, just hope it works out, and I think it's a decent practice. It definitely feels like an upgrade over Gannon, but
Yeah,
we'll
the
see.
Cardinals are definitely going to be in the market of drafting a quarterback next year when there's going to be like way more way better QB prospects. Or maybe I saw that Garrett Nussmeyer played very
Mhm.
well at the Senior Bowl. He's not going to be a first round pick, but he could be like a Tyler Shuck.
They
He could be a
yeah,
Shuckish like QB prospect where he goes in the second round and when he gets picked, everyone's going to be like, "Oh, this is where Tyler Shuck was picked," and look what he
Yeah.
did for the Saints last year. Like you're going to hear that a million
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a good hire.
Yeah. It feels like they got just such bigger issues than the head coach at this point.
It would be kind of
Um,
funny if his brother got fired by the Packers and like he got hired before his
yeah,
brother.
that'd be interesting, but did not happen. Before we get into another head coaching hour, I want to talk. We already talked about Jesse Minter going to Baltimore, the Chargers defensive coordinator. We all think that feels like a really nice move, but what I think is more inspiring too is the staff he's kind of built out. Getting one of the Eagles candidates for their OC job, Declan Doyle, former Bears um, offensive coordinator, where he'll get play calling duties over in Baltimore, and Anthony Weaver as their defensive coordinator. And that feels like a really strong staff, I have to be honest. Like Baltimore, as much as we give them crap for certain things, I think a lot of the crap we've assigned to them had a lot to do with John Harbaugh. And this is one of those moments where it makes you kind of take a step back, zoom out, and be like, the Ravens are really a well ran organization. And these are the sort of moves that, you know, good teams and good organizations make. Like you run into a nightmare season, you got injuries all over the place, coaching messages and getting through, you got all these rumors coming out of problems, and it's like, all right, we need to stabilize this operation. You go bring in one of the hottest defensive minds who's going to bring in also some of the hottest offensive minds to go along with the coaching staff, and you still got Lamar, and you got to hope to nail a couple drafts here and there because you don't want to end up like the Chiefs. And you know, I just wanted to give a little shout out to the staff that Minter's been building out there in Baltimore.
Yeah, the big thing with Declan Doyle is obviously the creativity. You saw like some of Caleb scrambling. Is Lamar going to get back to scrambling more? Probably not because of his injuries that he's had. You want to obviously maximize his passing, but obviously the big thing for Baltimore is going to be you look at the ground game that the Lions and then obviously the Bears when Ben Johnson moved over. I think the big question of Baltimore is going to be, the ageless wonder Derrick Henry. Can he handle another big load of carries?
Hmm.
Or are we going to see, or do we think Baltimore, with a lot of free agent running backs that are going to be available, are they going to spend some money on another running back? And they're going to be like, okay, Derrick's going to get 15 carries and Brees Hall gets 15 carries. I'm just throwing out a name,
Yeah,
but
yeah. No, I hear you. It's
Javante
tough.
Williams is going to get 15 carries.
Yeah, yeah. So nice moves there out in Baltimore. The next head coaching hire, I don't think we talked about it because it hadn't happened yet. Joe Brady to the Buffalo Bills. I'll
The
say it
meme of the
now.
old man wearing a like plaid shirt and he's holding up the same exact plaid shirt in the picture.
Yes, yes, I do. That's what this. It's just like we talk about how nice of an organization Baltimore feels. Buffalo is a dog shit organization. I'm sorry, but like Josh Allen has done so much to cover up the warts of that god awful franchise, and forever has always been a
If
bad
Connor
franchise,
McDavid played for the
cursed
Flyers, he'd be
franchise.
the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, precisely. Like the Bills, you got the owner in a press conference not only bitching about the refs, which is just like crazy to begin with, but also like slandering your third year receiver who's still on the team, by the way. Like we all laugh and giggle at Cam Newton meme. It's funny, Keon Coleman, whatever, and maybe Keon Coleman is a bust, but like he's a second round receiver that isn't good, but like it's just not the worst thing in the world. They didn't draft, you know, Keon Coleman 8th overall, and he's an effing disaster like this. Like it's JJ Arcega-Whiteside. He's not that bad or anything. Like he can get out there. He made some plays. I think there's just a lot of work to be done. And maybe he is a bust, but like when you have the owner going in there and saying, Yeah, I mean, that was all the coaching staff. That wasn't the GM at all. Like, and when we're keeping the GM, but that was all the coaches. And it's like, oh yeah, and we're
Oh
promoting our
yeah,
coach
Terry
as oh
Pagula
no, wait,
owns the
and
Sabres,
we're
dude. That's all you need to know, man.
right, and we're it was all the coaching staff. And oh, by the way, our next head coach is going to be one of our coaches that was involved in drafting Keon Coleman. So it's like you're going to shit on the coaches and remove blame from the GM for making a bad draft pick, which awful practice to do in public, by the way. But then you're going to promote the highest ranked offensive coach in your organization that probably was the biggest decider in making that draft selection anyways. How the hell does that make any sort of sense? That's ridiculous. That is asinine to me. Like that's like trashing Fangio if like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean both busted and then they make Fangio the next head coach of the team. The hell are we talking about? Like it's really it's so
Well, honestly, the
backwards.
thing with Brady is this is what I kind of bring up. Like I've seen a lot of, and I agree with this too, man. If you look at the Bills, like you look at their offense, like a big reason why I think Josh Allen and dude, I don't like making excuses for Josh Allen. I really don't.
No, but
But at the same time,
they're so valid.
like some of the dumb crap that they do, it's sort of like you kind of understand why he plays hero ball. Like my comp for Josh Allen is probably like if you're to go back to another quarterback in NFL history, it's John Elway. When John Elway
Right,
John Elway would have some like heinous turnovers, but
right.
he won a lot of games for the Broncos. He had to do it by himself, and the only time he won championships was at the end of his career when he was surrounded by elite players. And in other words, he got like elite receivers and
And Terrell Davis, like
Terrell Davis. And look, James Cook is an elite running back too. So that's why
Terrell
I don't want to
Davis.
be like oh, James Cook stinks because he does not. He's like a
No,
top.
but it's like when your receiving room is what your receiving room is, it's definitely makes it more difficult, absolutely, and we're also like
Like the Brandon Cooks INT. Like if that was like, gosh, Michael, I don't know.
Devontae Adams.
Yes, he probably
Yeah.
gets that football.
If it was George Pickens, like,
He
you know what I mean?
probably picks that ball out of the air, breaks the tackle, and runs in for a touchdown.
Right, and it's like, it's just the Bills are there is very good reason to believe that they're gonna have another bad draft because we talked about it. They are a bad drafting team. They've drafted 2 Pro
Well, it's because they
Bowlers since
lost their
getting
genius
Josh
GM,
Allen.
their genius assistant GM, Joe Shane to the Giants. But Michael, I think Joe Shane's a bad GM too. But when you look at the Giants draft picks lately, like they've been
They blow the
drafting.
Bills draft picks out of the water. And
Yeah,
granted, you're picking higher in the draft, but still, you drafted 2 Pro
dude,
Bowlers
Tyrone
since
Tracy would be like the Bills' like third or fourth best draft pick, in
since
like
since Allen got drafted.
yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's not
like
it's really bad.
Guys
They're
like
another
Tyler
bad
Nubin, like Tyler Nubin's a good player. Like obviously, I know you hate this guy. Scadaboo's like probably going to be a good player. Like Theo Johnson's not a bad tight end. Malik Neighbors, when like
regardless, you look at the Bills and it's like they are another bad draft away, which again feels like it's going down that way. You didn't fire the GM and you just promoted a guy who's already in the building as your head coach. So you're like,
that's a telltale sign that no, that like they were confident that nobody else, either two things that tells me one of two things. One, they wanted to placate Josh. Like, we don't want to alienate Josh, where if we hired a different coach, he's going to like harp on Josh about his turnovers, and we don't want him to like push him away
okay, I guess. I don't
and
know.
create. And you mentioned dysfunction. Oh man, Josh Allen's like Stafford in Detroit, but like he's way better
Yeah.
because it kind of is like that, isn't it?
It's that's much better than that, I'll be honest. I think we revisionist history Stafford sometimes a
Oh
little
no,
bit.
they were bad, but it's like it's sort of
Josh Allen is,
like
he's
like like
much
in,
better.
like Josh Allen will never win a Super Bowl in Buffalo.
Probably like they would not with this regime, it feels like. And what's unfortunate is that like they are going down the Chiefs path where a few bad drafts in a row and your players aren't panning out, and all of a sudden the one score game luck isn't going your way, and you miss the playoffs. They were going to miss the playoffs regardless Mahomes got hurt or not. Like that was a fact. They were missing the playoffs. And it's like you are a few bad drafts away from being in a position where you can't just let Josh Allen fix everything and make everything better to make the playoffs again. He's won a ton of games. They put up a lot of points. So have the Chiefs. And eventually, between bad offensive coordinators and bad talent, it literally became too much for arguably one of the greatest quarterback of all time to to overcome it. And like, Josh Allen missing a few weeks is like a death sentence for the Bills at this point, and again, a lot of teams are like that, but they have like 0 hope on a week-to-week basis if Allen isn't gonna be playing, and if isn't playing at a super high level. So again, down year from Josh Allen, injured year from Josh Allen, or the stank just gets too big, and all of a sudden you're gonna be missing the playoffs. The Patriots have a ton of cap space to get better, and they're already in the Super Bowl. You missed your opportunity, definitely. You had a golden opportunity. You had plenty of time to go actually win a Super Bowl, and you didn't take advantage of your shitty division. And now your division is no longer you have a team to duke it out with every year and slug it out with where yeah, 12 wins might not be enough to win a division any given year like it used to be. And that's a tough spot to be in. It's a tough pill to swallow, and I think hiring Joe Brady, who I wasn't super enamored with as an offensive coordinator to begin with, I just think that's a
I mean, you weren't
lateral at
enamored
best move.
with him having like four All Pro wide receivers and like a real and a elite quarterback, like
In
in
college. No,
college.
yeah, for sure. And it's like, I don't know. I think the best option for them would have been to hire a defensive-minded head coach and just kinda let Josh do his thing on the offensive side of the ball and get better drafting. Like, if the Bills were actually serious about throwing this out and restarting because you fire McDermott, you should have fired the GM out with him, you should have cleaned house with Brady, and you should have brought in a defensive-minded head coach, a new general manager, and a whole new staff, and it's like, "Listen, we got Josh, you make it work with him, it can't be hard to make it work with him as a play caller, and, we need to actually build out some defensive talent again and get a couple receivers in here, and we'll be back and fine." But, listen, would we be shocked if Buffalo is really good again next year and goes on a playoff run because they acquired, like, one receiver? No, of course not. Josh Allen's very good. But I think it would also be equally as, like, I don't know. You can absolutely see the path and see the vision of things going really bad in Buffalo. But let's move on. We had some other coaching hires. Todd Monken to the Cleveland Browns. Now, we all wanted Todd Monken as an offensive coordinator. He ended up getting the head coaching job, but it did not come without drama. Not that I love like Monken as a head coach. Yeah, sure, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. But where the Browns' dysfunction comes in is the fact that the Browns have had a top 1, maybe, defense in football since Jim Schwartz took over as the defensive coordinator. They're
If their
like
offense wasn't so pathetic, then their defense would most likely be held in a similar regard
there is
to the
yeah,
Eagles, the Seahawks, the
and, like, it still is.
Texans.
I mean, there's that graph where it's like offensive EPA, good offensive EPA, bad offensive EPA, and then defensive EPA, good defensive EPA, bad defensive EPA. And you look at the Browns and they end up here. Great defensive EPA, the worst offensive EPA. They could not be further up in that corner. And you're like, well, maybe we should keep around the defensive coordinator who is working a great job with one of the greatest defensive players of all time, and we have a great defense here. Okay. They were so enamored with that it felt like they were going to gift wrap Jim Schwartz the head coaching position. Shocker, some boomer owner who sucks at his job steps in and is like, "Oh, I don't want to do this. Let's go bring in somebody else." Jimmy Haslam steps in, brings along Todd Monken. Jim Schwartz feels absolutely backstabbed and slighted and jerked off by the Browns that he's like, "You know what? F you guys. I'm getting the hell out of here. I don't want to be a part of this operation anymore. You also have a rapist at quarterback." So the fact of the matter is that it's a stank organization. The Deshaun Watson trade is like by stratospheres the worst trade in professional sports. It is not even close because the Browns haven't had first round picks recently. Like they just haven't. And you when you go years without first round picks because you traded like all this draft capital and gave the largest guaranteed contract in NFL history to a guy who's like legitimately evil, what do you expect is going to happen? It's not a desirable head coaching location. It's not a place anyone wants to go. You are really going to feel it because you haven't been able to acquire talent at the high end of the draft, and you haven't been able to attract players who want to come there because you have a guy who all those things I said about him, he also sucks. He also is bad at playing quarterback. Deshaun Watson, on top of being a horrible person, on top of having an impossible contract to get rid of, on top of all the draft capital you already gave up for him, he also sucks when he's in there. You don't even want him playing when he is healthy.
Yeah, as soon
So
as he basically, as soon as he got the bag, was like, I'm out.
I mean, it's all of it, and it's like, now we're sitting here and you let the one good coach that you had in the building go because he, like, stormed out because you backstabbed him or whatever, and now you're totally screwed. Like, the Browns will always be the Browns and will forever be the
Well,
Browns.
and you know what? This we're not ready to get into the Eagles yet. I'm going to save that name Jim Schwartz for later. Um, but yet, to me, what this move felt like was them hiring Monken was, I think, because the Ravens were interested in drafting Shador day 3 as a backup to Lamar.
Yeah,
I'm guessing Todd Monken was probably amongst the contingent that on the Ravens was like, hey, why don't we just draft Shador and we'll just develop him as a backup for Lamar?
yeah,
And if Lamar gets hurt, or if Lamar gets in one of his moods and doesn't want to be a Raven, well, we got Shador ready.
right, right. So you get a guy that seemingly believed in him and tried to acquire him on his previous team. Yeah, sure, it makes sense there. We'll see how good
But I
things
also
look
think too,
without,
like, couldn't they just promote Schwartz and hire Monken as the OC?
Well, I don't think he was gonna choose to be the OC without it felt like if he was the OC, he was the OC with Harbaugh, and that was it. That felt like the only solution there. So,
I mean, if you love Shador
w
that bad, I mean, you shell out the money, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, which, the Browns are obviously not keen on doing. So, the other head coaching gig that isn't decided is the Raiders, but that is more likely than not going to be Clint Kubiak. And that wraps up all of
I
the
do want to
new
ask you a
head
question
coaches.
about Clint Kubiak and the Raiders. We know, so if the Raiders screwed up their tank, does Kubiak go and they, don't get Mendoza? Does Kubiak still go there to be the head coach? I don't think he does.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
But could
listen,
that be a tanking incentive? Like, hey, if we get this basically a future franchise quarterback that we could draft, he's going to attract better coaches to want to come coach him.
sure. I think that's incentive. Absolutely. I like it's incentive to want to fire Pete Carroll, like that sort of thing. Um, if I had to, like, I'll be honest, I'm not like I'm not expecting Fernando Mendoza is not some can't miss prospect. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh
I
no,
think
he's
he's
not.
got promise. I think he's a nice prospect, but I don't think he's anything that it's like. What I'm saying is if the Raiders traded out of one, I wouldn't like kill him for it, to be completely honest. Even if they don't have a quarterback or whatever, I don't think he's the guy. Like, if we talk about this all the time, that, oh, we already have a quarterback, so, we should definitely trade out of one or trade out of a spot to not have to whatever. Like if the Cardinals Josh Rosen thing, like they had Josh Rosen, they just drafted him the year before and they were at one and it's like we can't miss Kyler Murray. We have to do it no matter what. I don't think Mendoza is one of those guys where it's like if you're not sold on him upstairs like Brady and all the Raiders front office brass, if you're not sold on Mendoza, I don't think you have to take him absolutely. You know what I mean? I think you can definitely trade out of it, but I will say they probably do take him, and I think it takes him a couple of years to get to a spot where he can be useful. Maybe he turns into like Goff or whatever, and that's a productive quarterback for a
I think
long
he's more
time.
mobile than Goff. I think it's
I do
like
think we forget Goff used to run a little bit, and then he got
I
decapitated
was
by Richard Sherman.
I was gonna say like
Remember that on Thursday night? He
oh
got absolutely
oh
blown up by Richard Sherman his like rookie year, second year, and that was the end of Jared Goff being mobile. But
yeah, I would say like Mendoza like I don't know, man. Like he kind of is gonna be like the film rat. Like listen, man. Like
Alex Smith, maybe.
I
Probably
think
got
he's got
better arm strength,
better
arm
arm
talent.
talent. I think
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. Oh, I had Darnold, who was basically semi broken, and now we could win the Super Bowl with him. To like, okay, this guy has more promise than Darnold does. You know,
I think Darnold was a better prospect.
well, I mean, I think it. I mean,
Darnold definitely was a better prospect. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I remember when Darnold was coming out. It was like, you can't miss Sam Darnold. Oh my God, Sam Darnold, all the arm talent
well, he
ever.
barely didn't play. He didn't play a whole lot.
Yeah, but he showed all the
It
things
would
you
be
need to
like
see.
honestly, like Darnold coming out would be like if Arch came out this year into the draft.
I want to look at Sam Darnold draft. I'm look at some scouting
He was
reports
20
of
years
Darnold.
old when he came out in the draft. Sam Darnold's 28 years old. He's been in the NFL for 8 or 9 years.
Let's see. I just want to read a quick little grade, production score. Um, right now, Sam Darnold's second, blah blah. This crap. The high school All American in Orange County, Offensive Player of the Year in high school. Also excelled at baseball, basketball. Darnold redshirted in 2015 behind Cody Kessler and Max Brown. Brown ended up transferring to Pitt as he saw the mature, pro-sized, strong arm, and accurate Sam Darnold take his job. Played in all 13 games, starting the final nine, completing 67% of his passes, through over 3,000 yards, 31 touchdowns, 9 picks. Darnold has the athleticism to make plays with his feet. He was voted first team All Pac-12 by coaches. Um, scouts worry about his ball security. At the end of the day, Darnold has NFL size, arm strength, accuracy, pocket mobility, poise, and field reading capability. His windup is an eyesore, but he has the velocity to mitigate additional release time. While Darnold has mental toughness and talent to start tomorrow, early sideline seasoning could help him better process coverages in an attempt to eliminate future picks. Darnold has all the tools to thrive in any system and doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to have perfect protection to succeed. His floor is a solid starter, but he has the ceiling to be one of the top tier quarterbacks in the game. NFL comparison, Andrew Luck.
Yeah, that's a
Pretty high
little.
prospect.
Well, he also
Dude,
so
he
like
was
this was
an
like
NFC Championship game, man. He was awesome.
I do think
Got to give Darnold his flowers, man. He deserves them.
no, I'm not trying to trash Sam Darnold. I'm just saying like you know whooping up on the in the Pac-12 in its dying days, and then you go to the NFL.
Well,
I do put a lot of stock in how a lot of these quarterbacks how they do against elite level competition where they need to make plays to win games. Cough cough 9 cough cough handoff merchant cough
hmm
cough 10 passes a game sucks in the NFL.
yeah.
Um, you know, I mean, like he plays well against other guys who are going to be NFL players. That's a very big deal. You
Yeah,
know,
no, for sure. It's an intriguing prospect. But let's get to what we talk about, the Eagles. Let's move to the Eagles.
do
An
you want to get
offensive
the
coordinator.
bad out of the way first, or do you want to talk about the good?
I mean, I guess we can talk
Let's just get this out of
Fangio.
the way. So Vic Fangio is pondering retirement, and as I hinted earlier, reportedly the Eagles wanted to bring back Jonathan Gannon when Vic they try where or Jim Schwartz, which look I think you and I can both agree. Yeah, Jim Schwartz got cooked by the goat in our first Super Bowl win, but
I mean, that was 10 years ago at
that
this
was
point.
10 years ago, and our number one corner was Jalen Mills. I think this is
I
now a
look
little
at
different.
Jim Schwartz and it's like,
And
I
Jim
don't
Schwartz
know.
and Jim Schwartz could get potentially Miles Garrett or Max Crosby to want to come here.
Yeah, I don't love his like scheme fit to be interesting here, whatever. It is a little Fangio. Regardless, hopefully Fangio doesn't retire. If he does, I think we're in some deep shit. Apparently, he's still mulling it over. I don't think he's going to retire at this point. I think he knows that would be kind of effed up. Um, so I think he is gonna chill for at least this season and finish it out. If you're mulling over retirement for a couple of years, probably this is the last one. I'd like to think he could have gone out on top after a Super Bowl, wanted to get a chance to run it back. Maybe he stays for the length of some of the Georgia kids because he's like, wants to help them grow and has the connection to them. Um, but we'll see. We will see. Hopefully he stays. I do think he does, but it's definitely non-zero he retires, so that's a little worrisome. But the real thing I wanted to talk about, offensive coordinator, has been decided. Sean Mannion, former backup quarterback in the NFL, played as recently as 2023, was the Green Bay Packers quarterback coach, gets a lot of credit for some Jordan Love development, gets a lot of credit for some Malik Willis development as a backup as well. Um, you know, didn't call plays in the NFL, has one game called from the East West Bowl that we'll talk about in a second, some tendencies. But alas, someone from the Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur tree, someone from that we've been hammering and clamoring for getting one of those guys and having that offense and having that style of play because it's put it as it is. It's an offense that really hasn't been figured out yet. Like truly, those 3 coaches, Shanahan, McVay, and LaFleur are always in the mix. They're always in and around the NFC Championship game. Shanahan especially, like, even with the roster, felt like a season from hell from the 49ers, but they were 1 win away from being the 1 seed in the NFC. The Rams are obviously always good, and the Packers are always pretty good too, where they run an offensive style of offense that teams just do not slow down on a consistent basis, and the Eagles got a guy from that groom, so you hope that he can bring some of that juice here, and with all the talent that's already in place, you'd like to think that it won't take too much to turn the ship around and bring them back into the top 10 in terms of all those offensive
Yeah,
stats we wanna
well,
see.
so the crazy thing about Mannion was he was one of those like backup QBs in the vein of a Chase Daniel, where he was kind of there as like a pseudo assistant quarterbacks coach,
Mhm.
where he was like a film guy who was there, sort of like a Doug Peterson, I would say would be like the comp.
Yeah.
I know you're not happy with me saying that name.
I
I'm just
mean, I guess.
well, like he's like a career backup
Yeah,
who
I mean, that's what all these coaches end up
like
being,
Davis Webb is what I'm saying. Like Davis Webb. You see,
Frank Reich, like, all these guys are
well,
good.
like Davis Webb went from like almost beating the Eagles in 2022 to going to Denver, and now he's going to be like a head coach in 2027,
Right.
basically. Like, like they fired like Sean Payton fired Joe Lombardi. I'm going to assume Davis Webb is now the OC in Denver. I'm
Yeah, he
assuming.
just got promoted officially today.
Yeah, yes. So that's why they probably fired Joe Lombardi because I think Peyton. It's like, oh well, Joe Lombardi's been around forever. Whatever. I want the young gun, the guy
Mhm.
that's been working with Bo, the last couple years, and steady.
Yeah, regardless, we're losing the
I know. I'm just
we're
saying,
getting
like
off
it's like
topic.
this is the trend, and the Eagles
Yeah.
want the Eagles are an organization when there's a trend, they don't want to be like the last team to get in on it, like the Phillies with analytics, the Flyers with like
All right,
everything
we're getting
else.
depressing. We're getting depressing.
Like,
This is good
I
news.
guess
Let's
what I'm
keep going.
saying is like because the Eagles are the only competently run organization in Philadelphia, this is what they're trying to do. Like, I'm
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
explain why they would go with an inexperienced coach. I did read though when Mannion tried to apply for a different position 2 years ago that he asked um, Mike LaFleur, who he's friends with, because they worked together, I think, with the Rams when he was a backup on the Rams, um, to like prepare for the interview. And LaFleur was so impressed by him, he offered him a job. Like he basically created a job so he could hire him.
Right. It's pretty cool. That's pretty interesting. It's one of those like, student of the games that you feel like is like you said, you're gonna be a head coach pretty soon. These head coaches are getting younger and younger, and it doesn't feel like he's an exception, if he leads a top 10 offense. And when you get down to like scheme wise and what it'll be interesting to see if he's actually an impact or if it's Sirianni's offense that he has to run or if it's his own offense is like the differences the Packers and the Eagles have been over the years. The Eagles, we all, heard it ad nauseum at this point, how many hitches they run. They run so many hitches. They don't run crossers. They run hitches, hitches, hitches. Packers don't run a lot of hitches. They run a lot of out routes and they run a lot of crossing routes. And they run a lot of quick, easy button plays, and that's, like, something that we've talked about the Eagles not doing good at. Like, hitches, yeah, they can be easy button plays, but when they're too predictable, they're not easy button anymore. Um, and, the play calling experience we do have from Sean Mannion is the East-West Bowl, um, where he coached and called plays and had about a week to install a game plan, and you saw trends that were very similar of that of the, Packers and the Rams and the 49ers, where a lot of under center, a lot of, like, heavy run packages. When they're under center, they run it 70% of the time, but it plays really well off their bootleg play action passes and the play action dig routes over the middle that we see Brock Purdy throw, like, 7 of a game that complete. Um the shotgun plays, we see the quick outs and the quick crossers to easy buttons and screens and whatnot. So, what I think he'll bring to the table is obviously I do think a refresh in the offensive side of the ball. And I think it's going to open up some new personnel. Not saying like, oh, this means they're trading AJ Brown, which obviously could happen. I just hope it doesn't. I don't think it will, but we never know. But the big thing that obviously is like destined to change is the tight end room. It's something that, has been a ticking time bomb, it feels like, with Goddard's inevitable free agency leaving. And this is obviously the year you're going to need a new one. And those offenses all have tight ends who are very good at blocking. And the Eagles, outside of Goddard, have struggled at acquiring tight ends that are good at blocking. Jack Stoll was good at it. Since he's been gone, Goddard's been the best blocker, and his blocking has um, you know, regressed every single year over the last handful of seasons. So I expect the new Eagles tight ends to be really, really good at run blocking, great run blockers, because that is it's a key part of those offenses. You watch those offenses and you're like, man, how does that tight end get so open? How's the play action work so well? It's because those tight ends on the field are capable blockers and they're weapons in the running game in that regard. And then teams have to commit to it. And that's when you hit them with the play action and it works really well. So another thing that they used a lot was a fullback. And Van Sumeren getting hurt on the opening kickoff, totally threw out, I think, a lot of the Eagles' desires on how they wanted to use a fullback this season. But they still had Cameron Latu, and they effectively benched him as the year went on after that special teams mistake that he had in the Bills game. And I think, or the Commander game, excuse me. I forget what game it was now. I'm misremembering, but regardless, I think the Eagles are going to have a more regular fullback next year, and I think they're going to have blocking tight ends next year, and I think that's going to be a really nice
There are
refresh in
some
the run game.
fullbacks. There are some free agent fullbacks. CJ Ham of the Vikings is available.
Yeah, maybe him. Listen, they might just let Latu and Van Sumeren compete for the job. Like that could be very plausible, and I wouldn't totally hate it. I think we're going to see like a just a refresh of the offense. We're going to look a little bit more like everyone else. Like the best way to describe the Eagles offense versus those other offenses are it's like a symphony, you know, every part is every play that is called with deliberation. Every decision is made with a reason. Every play call, there is a reason for it because it's gonna set up something else, because it's gonna keep this defender honest to open up this later in the game. And I know that calling this play this many times is gonna free up this opportunity. And everything works off each other. Everything is cohesive, everything is together, everything is collaborative. And then you look at the Eagles offense on a week to week basis and you see like there's like a running attack and there's a passing attack. And those things are not married, they're not blended. And that's where the predictability comes in. That's where the disjointment comes in. When teams knew the Eagles were running the ball, which it was very obvious when they were struggling. The offensive line was banged up, everything was bad, and they couldn't run the ball effectively.
Well, I also keep this in mind too when you talk about the marriage of the two, like run in the past. If you look at like the Niners, even the Rams to a certain extent, like their offensive lines were like okay.
The
Like
Rams offensive line this year was very good.
Rams offensive
But
line this year was very good, but like you look at like the Niners O line, even like dating back for the last several years, besides like Trent Williams, like they didn't really have like it wasn't like the Eagles O line where it's like three Pro Bowlers, you
no,
know.
and even Green Bay's isn't that good, but they still run the ball
You
effectively.
still have really
No,
high EPA.
because and a lot of it is because they have the good blocking tight ends. That shit helps a lot. Like it really, really does. It takes a lot of the pressure off the offensive line when you have tight ends that you can rely to make blocks and key blocks.
I actually have another point I wanted to bring up about the offense under Manny if they were going to be more Packerish. Um, Obviously, like AJ, it sounds like AJ Brown's going to stay. Like it's like Brandon Graham basically said, like he's going to stay, and that's what I'm just I don't know. Like
I hope so, man. I really do.
I think he's going to stay at least one more year, and obviously Smitty is going to be here.
Hmm.
The Packers have we all make fun of the Packers for not having a true number one receiver. But I was talking to a coworker of mine who's a Packers fan, and he was like, "Yeah, it sucks that we just don't have a number one receiver, but it's like the receivers aren't the issue for our team."
No, I mean the big issue was Micah Parsons got hurt
Right.
for this year's team
But
at
when you look
least.
at like that offense, like you look at the Eagles offense, like do you think like they should maybe like bring back Dotson? Like it's not like I mean, are we gonna see like maybe more like we're gonna design these plays where okay, we're gonna design this play that's gonna get like I don't know Darius Cooper like wide open downfield.
Maybe like it would behoove them to, I think, have more trust in the receivers more than just the top two guys. Absolutely.
Like, do we
Um,
like in day three early on? Do they draft a wide receiver? Like,
I don't know if you have to go that far, but I think that you can just they talked about, you know, positional coaches now on the offensive side of the ball and, you know, trying to find the perfect blend of Mannion guys and then the guys they already have or whatever. And I think the biggest one is a wide receivers coach. I think Moorhead needs to get out of here because the receivers just flat out, like, we'll be honest, like they underperformed and did a lot of the little things like shit. Like they didn't run super hard routes. They
yeah, it's
ran
why
very bad
Moorhead's
clear
out.
routes. Yeah. Is he officially out? I hope
The
he's out. I don't think a word's out. Like I think that's
the
speculated,
belief
but
is
it's not.
they want Sean Mannion to bring in some of his own guys.
Yeah, and like that's what I'm saying. Like I think he's a guy that definitely needs to be replaced because the receivers they didn't block, they took a lot of penalties, they didn't draw a ton of penalties, and they it would just behoove them to be just to do everything a little bit better. Like they're too prideful to draw pass interferences on downfield plays because they think they can go catch everything. And that's great. I want you to try to catch everything, but sometimes you just need to draw the penalty or at least put on a bit of an acting job a little bit. It would behoove them to run their clear out routes with a little more purpose to help open up other things in the passing game. It would behoove them to put a little bit more effort in blocking. So also that sets up the passing game when you have to worry about AJ or Devontae throwing a nice block to spring a run. Now the play action, they maybe bite on it a little bit harder on the outside. And it's like all of that builds off each other. And that's something that you really hope that a guy like Mannion can bring because, we talk about the Packers receivers, but what are their best traits to talk about? Christian Watson's an incredible blocker. Christian Watson is, he is a ceiling raiser in their run game because of how well he blocks downfield and he can block a linebacker if he needs to. And it's like, I don't need AJ Brown lead blocking or anything like Puka does, but it's like it would just help to have better effort and better ability out of that. And I think a new coach that pushes those sort of things can be better off in that regard.
Do you need a good laugh?
I guess maybe.
Eli Manning said that he thinks that the Giants can take a similar leap to what the Patriots did this year with Jackson Dart.
I mean, of course he's going to say that. He thinks he's himself. I don't know. That's so. I
Come
guess
on,
that's
it's
a good.
funny.
I guess that's a good closing note on the Giants' future optimism. Um, but yeah, we got Mannion in here. They brought in Grizzard as a passing game coordinator, which is also intriguing. Um, because, I do think that the biggest issues with Tampa's offense last year was their running game, that bled into, a bad quarterback play and all that sort of stuff, where
Well,
I think
I think Baker just being hurt, and also too like Bucky Irving was hurt for like most of the year. Like, geez, like Sean Tucker though. Like, I feel like Sean Tucker had he at least had 100 carries. I think. Sorry,
I'd like
86 carries for a whopping 320 yards.
yeah, they that's about what, like
Yikes.
4 yards a carry or so. It's not too bad. But
3.7, my friend. That's not very good.
okay, okay, fair enough. Um, but yeah, they had a bad running attack, but the passing attack was good for stretches of time when Baker was like healthier and not a loser. But um, I do think that the decisions they're making are positive ones in terms of the offensive coaching department. Obviously, there are some big overarching questions with the whole team and the franchise, and we'll see how things progress forward. But I do think that the Sean Mannion hire is an overall good one. And listen, I'm intrigued. I really hope he's allowed to kind of do whatever he wants and we can get a taste of what this offense would look like in one of those systems. You know, we know the things that Jalen likes to do and Jalen excels at, and I hope that they can just set those up to make that job easier. That's the job of coaches is to make the players' jobs easier. And it just feels like offensively they've been doing the opposite for quite some time now. So hopefully things get better. Hopefully things are easier, and I'm sure more stuff will come out as time progresses. But that being said, the Super Bowl is just a handful of days away. We will be back this weekend to preview the Super Bowl, and that almost might
Talk
honestly
about
be it
various props.
by that time. Like there might not be
Well,
anything else to talk about by the time that rolls around. Truly, the NBA
dude,
trade
I am
deadline.
so, I am confident in 5 days from now, there's going to be enough crap that's going to come out that's going to upset us. That
The
will
NBA
be
trade deadline is going to happen. That is a certainty. So we'll have the NBA trade deadline and the Super Bowl to talk about, and hopefully it's a good trade deadline. But until then,
hopefully Vic just commits
that
to.
would be nice too. But until then, that'll do it.
Okay, everybody, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, and not day, geez, enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you this weekend.
We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.